Hello, my lovely Natsukis. It's your bestie Summer, and I am back with a new lovely fic for all you little sunbeams. This is part 1, chapter 1 of I Survived Being Thrown into an Unknown Portal, and all I got was this lousy shirt, written by iamsuperbi and read by Summer Audio. Enjoy! Peter takes his hand, helping him stand. I'm fine, Matt. We're alone, but we aren't where we're supposed to be. Matt frowns, head tilting. Did the portal teleport us to a different part of the city? Peter presses his lips into a thin line, rubbing the back of his head in thought. Strange said it was meant to send the other versions of him back to their rightful universes. But what did that mean for someone who was already in their universe? The answer, nothing good. Or a Peter Parker in Gotham fic, but Matt's here too. Notes. My Peter Parker is very loosely from the MCU, and by that I mean not really at all. No mentor relationship with Stark, and he wasn't involved in the Thanos stuff since he was never brought into the Avengers. Daredevil was his mentor instead, so it's Team Red minus Deadpool, and instead of Ned Leeds, his best friend is Harry Osborn. He did get blipped though. Matt is also loosely based on the MCU, but he is a redhead and has visible scarring on his face/eyes from the accident. He was also snapped, but he sensed everyone leaving before he did, and it traumatized him. He was also blipped. Also, I haven't watched Daredevil Born Again, so this will not include anything related to that. As for the DC crew, DC stands for Disregard Canon. I pick and choose my characterization, so if you know Lucky, that's a bummer, I guess, but there's also a bajillion fics just like this one you can go read instead. And they're all probably much better than this too. I disagree. I'm trying to avoid the usual fic tropes for this. Not to say those tropes are bad. I eat all of them up, yum yum yum, and I think as a result I've just landed on writing a very absurd crack fic. So enjoy. I mainly wrote this first chapter at 2 a.m., so expect several mistakes and general incoherency. Chapter 1. Never trust a mustache-twirling villain to make sense. It was an Avenger patrol when Peter heard the fight in the warehouse by the docks. It's always a warehouse by the docks, isn't it? Peter wonders why that is. Matt's his second shadow, moving along the rooftops towards the docks. After they all got blipped for 5 years, Matt's been a little clingy with him, and Karen and Foggy. It had taken a while to convince Matt that he wasn't going to vanish out of thin air again, for Matt to let him go out as Spider-Man. The compromise they landed on was that Spider-Man stayed as close as possible to Hell's Kitchen during the day, and at night he stayed strictly with Daredevil. And while Peter was very glad he'd managed to weasel his way into some freedom, he finds himself grateful for Matt as he peers through the hole in the rooftop of the warehouse to find Dr. Strange, the Doctor Strange, yes, squaring up against 15 different versions of himself. One was bald with a comically evil mustache. Another had 3 eyes. They only seemed to get weirder from there. As Matt settles next to him on the house's roof, Peter shakes his head to himself, blinking twice to confirm that he's actually seeing this. He is. Only in New York, Spider-Man says. What do you see? Daredevil asks, head tilted in a way that tells Peter he is listening to check if the many strangers are talking about anything worthwhile. A bunch of weird-looking Doctor Stranges are attacking the real Doctor Strange. He seems to be losing, he notes, watching as real Strange got thrown across the warehouse with a bang. We should go help. He gapes at Matt in surprise. One of Matt's big rules was to stay away from the Avengers, and all affiliated. A rule Peter's done his best to follow, but he still had a few run-ins here and there. One time he landed in the same dumpster as Hawkeye during a scrap with Rhino. She was awesome, helped him get Rhino subdued and back in custody. Way cooler than the other Hawkeye, if you ask him. Another time he met Black Widow while doing some recon with Matt to investigate the Hand, but he had been supremely disappointed to learn that there was nothing spidery about her other than her hero name. May she rest in peace. Anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, no matter how cool they are, the Avengers, and all those affiliated with them, were trouble. Trouble that Spider-Man didn't get involved with, because it made Matt all frowny, and then he'd sick Karen and Foggy on him, and that's the last thing Peter wants, is their disappointed expressions directed his way. Makes Peter feel all guilty and shit. So, for Matt to just throw that rule away like this, some serious shit must be going down. "What did you hear?" Spider-Man asks, him turning his eyes down to look through the hole again. "Something about a portal. It's hard to tell which one is talking." Daredevil shakes his head, lips pursed. "One of them, the real one, I think, he said that it could tear a hole through our universe, which is bad. Very world-ending bad." Spider-Man finishes with widened eyes. "Yeah, we should help." When Matt nods firmly at him, he swings down before he can think too hard on it, landing beside the Strange, being absolutely dog-piled on by the other 15 versions of him. Matt takes a slower route down by the rafters, landing just behind him. "You need a hand?" Spider-Man asks the Wizard, who spares him a sharp glare before throwing a blast of yellow magic, multiple question marks, towards a duplicate of himself that was wearing a comically tall top hat. "Get out of here, Spider-Man. You too, Daredevil." Doctor Strange grunts, ducking to dodge a similar blast of magic hurled his way. "This doesn't involve you." "It's Spider-Man," Peter corrects, and the Wizard gives him another annoyed glare. "You sure? 15 against 1 doesn't seem all that fair. So what exactly is going on? Is this an Avenger-level threat? Should someone get the Avengers?" He points a finger at his chest, although he's not exactly sure how he would get the Avengers. Do they have a hotline? "Hey, do you think the Avengers have a hotline?" he asks Daredevil, who gave him an unimpressed head tilt. The other Stranges seem to be ignoring Peter, leaving him, and Matt, standing unharmed in the battlefield and content to yap his heart away. It's a dream come true. Peter loves to yap, even if Matt says it'll get him in trouble one day. Yeah, Matt the lawyer is anti-yap. Peter was surprised too. "Do not call the Avengers," Doctor Strange spits, reflecting a beam of magic thrown his way towards another duplicate. "They'd never let me hear the end of it. The only time I perform a spell incorrectly," he grumbles. "What kind of spell makes 15 versions of you that are all hellbent on killing you?" Daredevil cuts in, tugging his batons out. "It didn't make them, it brought them here, to our universe," Doctor Strange corrects tensely before getting football tackled by a flying bald wizard. Peter blinks, but the man is back in view not long after. "I'm trying to send them back to their universe, but they're all being total jackasses." "Pot, kettle, whatever that saying is," Peter mumbles. Louder, he asks, "You sure we can't help? Dee Dee's like a ninja, and I'm sticky." He holds 2 thumbs up, smiling behind his mask. Daredevil face palms. Doctor Strange pauses mid-fight to stare blankly at him. Ew. Peter barely resists slumping. "Screw it. See that portal over there?" Peter looks, and from his peripheral vision, he can see Matt feigning to glance over as well. That's the portal Matt mentioned, the one that could tear apart the universe. How in the ever-loving heck had he not seen that before just now? It's massive and chaotic, a prismatic swirl of violent, crackling energy. "I see it, Spooky. It'll send them back to their rightful universe. Problem is, they don't want to go back." Dr. Strange makes a whip of sparkle magic, using it to toss one of the other strangers across the warehouse. Peter will never understand how magic works, so you need our help to get them into the portal. Am I understanding that right? Peter bounces on his toes, eyeing the rafters above and planning his route to each strange already. Sounds easy enough. Just do it, kid, but whatever you do, don't... Too late. Spider-Man was in action, whipping through the air with his web shooters to string up the various wizards and toss them into the ominous portal. Despite having been standing and having a full-on conversation with Doctor Strange this whole time, the various duplicates all seem surprised by Peter's interference, barely having time to react before they get tossed like hot potatoes into the portal. On the ground, Matt and Strange are keeping the others distracted as Peter works through them, one by one. Eventually, he manages to get them through the portal and back to their universe. All but one. And, of course, it's the goofy-ass, bald-headed one. He literally twirls his nasty little mustache as he swerves hard to avoid Peter, cackling maniacally. Peter barely resists, audibly cringing at him in disgust. As if you could outsmart me. Is it outsmarting if Peter literally didn't use any thought at all? This has all been mere child's play. Now for the real action. Why is this man talking like that? What century is he from? Real people don't talk like that. Peter stops mid-swing, latching onto one of the warehouse's support beams to watch in befuddlement as the bald Strange begins to make weird hand gestures. He glances over at Doctor Strange in question, but the wizard, maybe he's actually a sorcerer, Peter doesn't know the difference, seems just as clueless, floating a few feet away. Watch out. Spider-Man! Daredevil shouts at the same time. Peter barely has a moment to process before a blast of magic is thrown his way by the bald bitch on the left. He crosses his arms protectively over his face, the force of the blast shoving him back a few feet closer to the portal. Jesus, what the hell was that? Was that a bitch slap in spell form? Peter complains, his arms aching fiercely from where they took the brunt of the blast, lowering them from his face. Matt came to his side, checking on him with a hand on his shoulder. Peter nods his head at him. Bald Strange throws a similar blast to Doctor Strange's way, and the wizard isn't fast enough to dodge it either. Yes, actually. The shiny-headed man smiles proudly before throwing a second blast of magic his and Matt's way. Watch out! Preparing for it this time, he expects to feel a similar smacking feeling to whack across him, his arms lifting back up over his face. But that's not what Peter feels. Instead, his head jerks down in surprise at the feeling of something wrapping around his waist, catching a glimpse of a sparkling magic whip encircling him. Then he's quite literally yeeted backwards. There is no other words for it. It's disgraceful, it's disrespectful, and it's incredibly embarrassing. But Peter doesn't have time to feel embarrassed before pain erupts through his entire being, before the portal begins to consume and absorb, eating away at him in an unforgiving embrace. No! He can hear Matt shout, can feel his hand grab at Peter, tugging and yanking. But Spider-Man! He can also hear Doctor Strange shout his hero name, forgetting the hyphen again, that bitch, before it all went black. Well, okay, no, it doesn't all go black, not at first, at least. His vision flashes with all sorts of colors and distorting loop of every color Peter knows, and then some beyond. Pain, pain, and more pain fills his blood, his veins, his soul, atom by atom. He is in so much pain, he can't even open his mouth to scream. And then, yes, it all went black. And just like that, he was awake once more, entirely painless, for about 2 seconds. His back slams into the wall of the warehouse, and he crumbles down onto his face into very unforgiving concrete. A pained noise leaves his lips. Ow. No bueno. Very bad. Ouchie. After letting himself lie sullen on his face long enough for the pain to fade away, Peter pushes himself upright and looks around. Everything feels so big around him, having to crane his neck more than feels normal. Before he can do anything else, there's a painfully bright flash of light, and Daredevil comes stumbling through, collapsing onto his hands and knees. Daredevil! Peter gasps, running over to Matt and placing a hand on his back. Matt groans, his hand reaching for his ear and covering it. His senses must be completely overwhelmed. Shit. You're okay. I'm here, he says, quieter this time. An absent part in the back of his mind notes that his voice is squeakier than usual. He glances around the warehouse, his lips turning down. This wasn't the same warehouse. The hole in the roof that he had entered from wasn't there anymore, and the walls were an off gray instead of a near white. Where is here? Peter mumbles, and uses his web shooters to leave Matt's side and pull himself to the barred windows on the far wall of the warehouse. It doesn't take any effort to bend the bars and crawl through the widened opening. He takes a look around, seeing what he can from a pitch-black night, not recognizing anything in sight. They're not even by the docks anymore. He tugs off his mask to see better, his nose wrinkling as his breath of fresh air is more like a breath of sewer air. It stinks something awful out here. He returns to Matt's side. Matt was upright now, head turning in Peter's direction when he got close. Are you okay? Matt asks, reaching his hand up towards Peter. His face is clean-shaven, lacking the usual stubble. Peter would mention it, but he's a little distracted by the everything else going on. Peter takes his hand, helping him stand up. I'm fine, Matt. We're alone, but we aren't where we're supposed to be. Matt frowns, head tilting. Did the portal teleport us to a different part of the city? Peter presses his lips into a thin line, rubbing the back of his head in thought. Strange said it was meant to send the other versions of him back to their rightful universe. But what did that mean for someone who was already in their universe? What was it that Strange was trying to tell him? Whatever you do, don't what? Don't go into the portal? That's the only thing Peter can think of, but what that means for Peter and Matt, he doesn't know. Unless, and hear him out, the portal didn't know what to do with someone who was already in their universe, and instead sent him to the opposite. A universe so far away and so different from his own that it was entirely unrecognizable. He shares his thoughts with Matt as they make their way out of the warehouse and towards the nearest apartment rooftop. Matt curses a quiet "damn" under his breath. Can you find anything that tells us what city we're in? He asks, and Peter feels not pity, never pity. Matt hates pity, but he feels bad. Matt's flying blind here in more ways than one. There's a reason Matt doesn't like to leave Hell's Kitchen, and it's not just because it was his home. It was familiar. The words Gotham City Hall, big and bold, are staring back at him several buildings over, and that's not familiar. Gotham, Peter says out loud, turning on his heel to keep looking around. And call him crazy, or maybe just simply uneducated, but Peter's pretty goddamn sure that he's never heard of a Gotham City, especially because that was New York off in the distance, past the docks he'd just come from, which meant he was in goddamn New Jersey. And maybe Peter doesn't know every city in Jersey, but he would know the one directly across from New York. You know, the place where he could recognize every dark corner, separated only by the Hudson River between the two states. Ugh, Jersey, he finishes. Gotham, New Jersey. Matt frowns hard before shaking his head. I've never heard of Gotham, New Jersey before. What are we gonna do now? Peter asks, running his hands through his hair. staring blankly around the dull, gloomy city surrounding him. "We need to find a place to hide out, a place to get our bearings," Matt says haltingly, trailing off as his head tilted, focusing on something Peter can't hear yet. Peter lets him concentrate as he debates with himself. Doctor Strange would come for them, right? He saw Peter get tossed into the portal, and he definitely must have seen Matt run in after him, too. But how long would it take for Doctor Strange to find them? There were an infinite number of universes. It could take months, even years, before they were found. Aunt May was going to be so worried. Karen and Foggy, too. People coming. Peter flinches and yanks his mask back on, flinging himself over the edge of the roof and clinging to the side of the apartment building. Matt does the same, his arms snagging at Peter's torso, a familiar move after the two had figured that if Peter had super strength, they might as well use it when they needed to hide quickly. Despite Peter feeling smaller than he remembers, he still has just as much strength. Again, he'll worry about that later. Bigger fish to fry, and so on. Peter hears two sets of footsteps landing on the roof. The soft whirling sound of rope receding tells him that they are using grappling hooks. This must be what Matt had been listening to. "Oi, you sure it was this warehouse? It looks dead from the outside," one of them says. His voice is friendly and warm. A woman's voice, tiny and distant from what must be a phone or comm, says, "I'm sure. There was a huge energy reading from inside the warehouse across the building you're on." The second person on the roof speaks, their voice surprisingly young. "Tch! We will investigate the surrounding area, Oracle, and report back." "Copy that, Robin. You two be careful." "We always are, O." Peter stays pressed to the side of the apartment building as he listens to the two grappling away from the roof, only lifting himself up when his spider sense stops itching his skin with tense caution. He lifts Matt back over the edge of the roof, then crawls his way up as well. He tugs his mask back off, watching Matt do the same. "We need to find civilian clothes," Peter says. "We don't need any more attention than that from those guys." Matt nods. "They must be the city's vigilantes. I heard them call each other Nightwing and Robin." "Weird names," Peter says, like a total hypocrite named Spider-Man. "Come on, there's gotta be clothes in this apartment under us somewhere. It's abandoned, but people always leave stuff behind." Matt's nose wrinkles with law-abiding distaste, but he doesn't argue. "Fine, let's go." It's almost disgustingly easy to slip into the apartment building, and it's even easier to find clothes to change into, even if they don't fit the best. So, are we gonna talk about the fact that I'm about to put on a youth's small shirt, or are we tabling that for even later? Peter asks Matt, who still looks baby-faced as hell. "I didn't want to freak you out if you hadn't noticed," Matt says. "Right. Speaking of, have you noticed anything about yourself?" Matt's brow twitches, like it does when he's surprised but trying to hide it. His lips press into a thin line, and he sighs heavily. "No, I didn't." "You look like you're barely out of high school." "Right. It's weird," says the one who's, 4 right now? Peter scoffs in annoyance at Matt, whose professional poker face doesn't even twitch. Fucking lawyers, man. "I think I'm 8. Matt rubs his face tiredly, sighing so heavily it verges on hysteria. Peter related. Focusing back on clothes, Peter puts on a green shirt with a not hourglass symbol on it and some moth-bitten blue jeans, before pulling a zip-up plain black hoodie on. It's a size too big, but it works. He finds Matt a white knit sweater and black slacks. They fit well enough, although the man has to roll up the sleeves when they go past his fingers, and the slacks are slightly too small on him. Finding shoes isn't nearly as easy, but Peter shoves socks into the front of the Converse he finds for himself, and Matt doesn't complain when the business shoes Peter finds have an awkward 2-inch heel. And finally he sees a shoulder bag with which he shoves their suits inside and zips it up before Matt takes it from them to put over his shoulder and across his chest. "I couldn't find any sunglasses for you, Matt. I'm sorry," Peter apologizes as they walk through the complex towards the nearest fire exit, letting Matt hold his tiny, elbow for guidance. Normally, Matt wouldn't need this, but in a city that he's never been to, filled with unfamiliar noises and smells and shitty scratchy clothes, and without his cane, Matt was understandably overstimulated. Peter can tell just by his posture that Matt's having to focus way harder than usual to be aware of their surroundings. "It's all right, Peter. Finding a habitable place to stay until we find a way home is higher on the priority list than finding me glasses," Matt says wryly, shaking his head. "Don't worry about me." His hair is longer than he usually keeps it, red curls bouncing slightly with each step. It looks nice, but it doesn't look like the Matt that Peter knows. He's sure everything that Matt can sense about Peter is totally unfamiliar, though, so maybe Peter has it easier in this aspect. "Right, duh," Peter smiles sheepishly. "But maybe finding a cane could be next on the list, appearances and all," Matt adds softer. Peter nods quickly as his stomach swoops. "Gotcha! Top of the list!" It's not just for appearance's sake. Peter remembers Foggy whispering to him, as if Matt wasn't able to hear, that the cane helped Matt with the smaller stuff he might not detect if he's not actively stretching his senses out to check, and that enhanced senses or not, Matt was still blind at the end of the day. Plus, Matt asking for help, willingly. Peter needed to get this man a cane ASAP. They get out on the streets, where Peter sees a sign labeling this part of the city as Park Row. Noting that mentally, he leads the way down the street and in search of a place to stay. Because, filled with things or not, Peter believes Matt when he says that the abandoned apartment was one sneeze away from collapsing. Neither Peter nor Matt are in the mood to get crushed by a building. Again. "There's gotta be shelter in this city," Peter mumbles. "Matt, can you sense anything that might clue us in?" He watches the man tilt his head as he focuses, those scarred, clouded eyes drifting as his brow furrows. No, I'm sorry. I don't know the city well enough, and I haven't completely adjusted. There's too many noises to pick through right now." Peter tries not to be noticeably disappointed. "It's cold as shit out here." "We'll find it. Come on." And they trudge along, Matt's hand tucked into the crook of Peter's elbow, in an unfamiliar city, in an unfamiliar universe. Peter wants to go home. Ending author's notes. Peter, waking up in a Lazarus pit after something traumatic causes him to get sent to Gotham, broke. Peter getting yeeted through a portal to Gotham by a bald man with a bad villain mustache, woke. JK. These fics sometimes de-age Peter, and I wanted to join in on the fun, but I didn't want to leave Matt out of it, so they both got some timey-wimey age shit done to them. Again, if you're expecting a fictional masterpiece like some of these Peter in Gotham fics, you're looking at the wrong place. This is like soft crack and very self-indulgent, and probably more Matt-centric than some people would like. If you do like all of that, please keep reading. It may get better, or maybe it gets worse. I don't know, bro. And that was part 1, chapter 1 of I Survived Being Thrown into an Unknown Portal, and all I got was this lousy shirt by iamsuperbi and read by Summer Audio. It has been a while since I've talked to you guys. I said I'd be gone a week, and I may or may not a week. I said I'd be gone a month, on my trip, and I got back later than I thought because I thought I was only gonna be gone for like 3 weeks, but it was like for the full month, and it was super fun, so fun. I went with one of my friends to visit her aunt, but um when I got back, I got super busy, like super duper duper busy. I swear we have been going places practically every day. Like, I've had, what, 3 different appointments since I've gotten back for different things, like breathing, just like low iron, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, fun, woo. Not to mention I've also been busy with like guitar practice, and every Friday now I'm gonna be going to acting lessons. So that's gonna be super fun. I can't wait. I'm starting this Friday, and it's just, it's so exciting. Um, but yeah, sorry I've been gone for like double the time I said that I would be. But it's expected at this point. It's expected that when I say I'm gonna be gone for a little bit, or when I say I'm gonna be back for a while, it's always a lie. It's always like, it's always exaggerated in some proportion. Um, but I am testing out a new like software thing. Instead of using CapCut, I'm now using Vlo, which one of my friends, Roy, suggested to me. You should go check out their channel. I'll link it in the description. Um, and yeah, that's nothing that I can think of. Tell me if it sounds better, because I'm also recording on my tablet instead of my phone this time because I can't record on my phone anymore. I don't have enough space. It's fun. um, Also ignore all of the like noises in the background. That's my siblings being loud and annoying. But yeah, that should be everything. So, without any more delay, I hope you all enjoyed and have a wonderful day, and make sure to eat food and drink water. Bye!